I was just joshing you guys, that's what I do too.
That's my master's degree in creative writing, can you tell?
In my book, the conch symbolizes authority.
I have to ask this question, it's kind of a rule. What is your favorite fruit? Papaya.
Pizza.
Dashner.
At least you finally went public with it.
Fruit on banana.
Strawberry.
Yeah, there's no way to top Dashner, we're sorry.
Hey, is that seat still open up there?
This girl's going to be president someday.
What's your favorite book you wrote?
We have another Jessica in the house, all right. We have a real soft spot for sassy girls. I'm actually in class. I didn't read, never mind.
What was your favorite book you read?
What's the question? Favorite book we've read or wrote? Favorite book we've written? Dashner.
It's called The Death Cure. It comes out in 6 months.
And for me, probably Fablehaven 5 is my favorite so far, because I like all the adventures. But as a whole, I think I'm most excited about the 3 Beyonders books, but that's hard to talk about yet.
For me, it's the new book too, it's also coming out in 6 months. But it's your new baby, it hasn't started being naughty yet. For me, it's always a book I'm actively working on. So right now I'm working on a 3rd Princess book, and I'm working on a book that comes out in 6 months called Tuesdays at the Capitol. And so that's what I'm thinking about all the time, and so I'm just really jazzed about this. So Tuesdays at the Capitol will be out in 6 months. Coincidentally, mine is also Fablehaven 5. How in the world do you guys come up with your ideas for the book?
How do you come up with ideas?
That is always such a hard question to answer. I think we were talking about this at dinner. Once you start writing books, you've got way more ideas than you can ever use. Like coming up with new ideas. I remember I wanted to be a writer, and I didn't have different ideas to do it, but the more I wrote and the more I read, the more ideas I have. They come by living, by reading, by thinking. They just come.
Oh, you got it.
My brain is like a casserole, okay? And my entire life of reading books and watching movies has made this casserole. It's a terrible analogy, I shouldn't have started with that, but. And often to help my creativity stay alive, I see lots of movies, I read lots of books, and it just keeps it turning.
For me, my one-word answer is daydreaming. I daydream a ton. I like check out of reality and live in my head and daydream. And every now and then, a lot of my daydreams are absolutely worthless and useless, and I should never share them. But every now and then I stumble across something that gets really cool, and then I'll go back to it over and over and over again, and it'll start to form into something that I do want to share because it seems cool and exciting.
Yeah, I think the combination of daydreaming and living a life that you feel is interesting to you, even if it's not interesting to anyone else. Like that's where I get a lot of ideas too. It's just from stuff that happens to me during the day, like trespassing in a barn. Not so much. Do not again advocate breaking the law. Good story ideas.
not trespass, unless you're young enough that a cop will let you off.
Or you can try your way out of it. I'm having images of Dashner's casserole turn into turning. He's so cheesy. And I'll need to stop here.
How are we doing? You guys bored yet? How are you doing? Let's do like 5 more questions. That's something like 5 more questions, then we'll tell you some final trivia things to give away some books. Okay? Then we'll call it.
So this is for all of you out there, but when you come up with your villains, how do you balance them out? Because I've read some villains that are really one-dimensional, and they're just evil because they are, and then there's the trouble villains that started out as the good guys, and then there's villains that are villains just because they like being jerks. How do you go about writing your dark antagonistic characters?
I think one thing that's important for any character is we want to make them feel as real as possible. So when I write my villains, I try to make an excuse for why in this guy's head he's doing something that makes sense to him, or something that he wants. And maybe it's because he's after power, or maybe he's conflicted. Maybe he thinks certain elements of what he's doing is good. Like I know, like in Fablehaven, the Sphinx, there's certain things where this guy thinks he's right in his own head in a lot of ways, even though he causes a lot of trouble. So I don't know, maybe that's part of it, is kind of make it an honest person, even though, like, you know, you're honest with that this person maybe could exist, or maybe could think that what they were doing made sense, even though they're a villain.
I think a scary villain is a well-intentioned villain, so I like that. In the story I wrote, Dash, the villain is really society, but it was a well-intentioned society to begin with, and I think that's more interesting to write, and hopefully that's
I imagine my mother-in-law, that really helped me. The Grievers, yeah. They look a lot like her, too. I'm totally kidding, I love my mother-in-law. I 100% agree with Allie and Brandon that there's just something fascinating about a villain that you can have empathy for. And when you kind of understand why the villain is doing something, it creeps you out a little bit.
I would agree with that totally. Those are most interesting villains, and so sad to say, when I go to write my villains, I end up going like, she's just evil, you know, just evil. She's doing it because she's evil. She's the most evil thing. I'm like, it's really just the devil. Who would usually call me skinny and skeletal, you know, like an evil person would be? I don't know, I would step away from someone twirling their mustache and going, whoa! I agree. I like my villains. I actually do. I mean, I understand my villains. Like, I'm empathy for my villains. And actually, in the story, I try to give them opportunities of redemption, and sometimes they take it, and sometimes they don't.
When you come up with characters, you come up with their personalities or their names first.
Personalities for me. I put in placeholder names, and then I name them according to what I feel like it fits their personality.
That's a main character for me, right, where I can go very far with them, but the minors, I think, just generic names.
I've had it go either way. I've had people pop into my head, like characters, like with their name fully intact, like it would be awesome if there was a guy who's named this thing and he did this. And then sometimes I'll like go whole books with totally in place or hold their name, like obviously this person cannot be named Ted. I got nothing. And that's when I like turn to like dictionaries or baby name books or something like that once or twice. But often, like, when I start thinking of a character, there will be a name that fits them that comes along with the personality. But I also hide a joke in each of my books with someone's name. Dr. Kelling in the Princess Midnight Ball book is actually named after the head of the German department of BYU, Hans Wilhelm Kelling, Dr. Kelling. He's even described as having impressive eyebrows. There's one in every one of my books. There's a family member or somebody.
I know a lot of really nice guys named Ted. I'm kidding.
Yes, but, you know,
I'm just teasing.
a fearsome troll wearing untanned pelt named Ted.
Unless it's a comedy.
Yeah, take something away, but you're not that worried about him eating you.
No, I hear you.
And you start testing.
Right. For me, I think about the name a lot because that's the one thing we ever see of the character visually, right? Like, all we see is that name, and so I want the name to sort of fit in a way that I can only sort of get in my gut, and sometimes that happens right off the bat, and sometimes it takes time, but I'll spend a lot of time like going through baby name books and looking at foreign names on the internet, and just thinking until I find a name that makes sense. There's nothing scientific to it, but it's more like oh yeah, that fits the feeling I wanted this person to have. And yeah, sometimes the name isn't Ted. It's true.
I'm the same.
Okay, so my question is mainly for Shannon and Hale. How much control do you have over your cover art? Because I miss your old cover art. Guess what? My publisher is releasing a special edition of Forest Form, the fourth in the Bayern series with an Alice in Chains cover. It'll be out in October. All of you who like your hardcovers, yeah, now you can have it. But in general, the answer is very low, to no control. Authors generally don't have control of the cover art, and sometimes that's a good thing.
Is fancy shoes the key to your success?
Absolutely.
If you do not have the shoes, you do not have the power. These are reversible. You can lift the sequins and they're all your shoe size goes up half of the size to full size of every size I see people. If you didn't know, this is true. Size 10 now.
This one,
Why would you be wearing shoes made for drag queens? You would be in some serious trouble.
this one for Brandon. Did you base Kendra and the Seth and Fablehaven on your kids?
My kids are pretty little, so my oldest is 7 right now. So I didn't base Kendra and Seth on my kids, because I wrote that like 5 years ago, and my kid was like 2, and so Kendra and Seth would have just been kind of toddling around. But like, my kids do inspire me sometimes. Like they say awesome stuff. One thing my 5-year-old said the other day was, he was like, if you die, if you die and it's your birthday, you're still dead. Stuff like that always gets my juices going. Kendra's named after my little sister's best friend. Seth's is named after my little brother's best friend. There's a little bit of my little brother and Seth. He was kind of restlessly curious, kind of a bonehead in some ways. So I do take little pieces of people that I know sometimes.
Sorry, we just want to ask Jessica right here one question. Do you have a